All right, welcome to this presentation on beating the 5 time thieves. I'm excited about this. It's actually a presentation based on the book Making Work Visible, one of my favorites by Dominica de Grandis. And this is the second edition, which came out, I guess, 2 or 3 years ago. First one was good, and she updated it a few years ago. And so presenting on that, given many copies away, very inspirational around improving our work, our flow, our time, our focus. And so I'll jump into that. Actually, before we start, please put in the chat just your title, your location, where are you connecting from? Are you project manager, service manager, engineer? We'll love to hear from you in the chat. And then just post in the chat, what do you struggle most when it comes to time, flow, and focus? Just what's your biggest challenge? So yeah, please light up the chat there. And we all struggle with too much to do, not enough time. If you've got not enough to do and too much time to do it in, put that in the chat. But I think that's nobody. So which of these do you resonate with? Number one, overloaded, just too much on your to-do list, too many projects, stuff coming up, everything. You're rushing around from one meeting to the next, or just can't focus because you're getting interrupted so much. Which is you? I can resonate with all of them from time to time. And it might vary throughout the day as well. So why make work visible? So one way is we don't even know what's on our list. It gets filled up with so many things. It's not all written down, but we need a way to say no. And because we don't know what's on there, we're saying yes to things. People come with a quick question, and we're like, "Yeah, I can do that." Not realizing it's actually pushing everything else on our list down, even things that were more important. And the other thing is it's voice only, like audible versus visual. When we have a discussion, we remember and we resonate, we connect with it when it's visual. So that's why we have diagrams, charts, Kanbans, calendars, all these things. Just hearing it isn't enough. We need to see it visually. And actually, communication is 7% words. If you look at it in a meeting, perhaps like this, you can see me, you can see the slides, you get a lot more out of it. So in a Zoom meeting, if we have our webcams on, we can see posture, we can see the gestures and the eye contact, which I'm trying to do here. If I'm off to the other way, it's like, what am I really communicating? Facial expression, and you don't get that on just a phone call or audio only. Intensity. When it comes to work, this all applies as well. It's just a list of tickets. It's not the same as seeing it visual with colors and other graphics. So in our brain, we've got something like, I think the number is like 10 billion neurons. 10% of them, actually no, 20% of them are dedicated to sight, apparently. So it's huge. And we've all heard the numbers that of the spoken language, 7% is the words, and 38% is the tone of voice, 55% is through body language. So it's huge. We think visually. And 65% of the population are visual learners. And so we love our pie charts, we love our maps, our graphs. Here's a picture of a physical Kanban board, sticky notes. And here's a quote, I think it was Winston Churchill: "A good sketch is better than a long speech." And you ever tried somebody trying to explain directions to you, like where I've had that, somebody's talking for 10 minutes, giving explanation how to drive somewhere. Turn here, when you see that red house, turn there. I'm like, just give me a map, just give me a map, and in 2 seconds, I know exactly where to go. And then, so invisible work has a cost. We need to make it visible. All right, so one way is a value stream canvas. This is coming out of the course that Dominica did. It's a 2-hour course. Actually doing all the exercises, it'd be more about probably 7-8 hours, because there's some workshop exercises that she has. And just mapping out what's the flow of a ticket of a project as it comes in. So her example here is it's coming in as a vulnerability, it's flowing through. What do you do? What do you decide? What ticket systems does it hit? So value stream canvas is a very helpful visual. So let's get into the 5 time thieves. So there's 5 of them that are stealing our time and our focus. The ringleader is too much work in progress. So we define that WIP, work in progress. or when we're getting too much, that's when a demand exceeds the capacity. Things are going to flow over to getting, that's like when our highway is full of cars, demand exceeds capacity, you're going to get slowdowns, you're going to get the proverbial rush hour. And so why does that happen? We say yes too much. Like I mentioned before, we're bad at estimating. We do our Gantt charts and our scheduling and everything based on the best case scenario. We're way too optimistic. And the reality is it takes longer. We're waiting on somebody. And often starting something feels so good, starting something new. And then we're leaving stuff there that's on the list already. So just getting plugged up that way. And not everything is on the visible list. We look at the list and we're like, yeah, I can fit that in. Look at the calendar, I can fit that in. But we're forgetting the unplanned work, and it's the mental notes and what's in our email, those things. So biggest motivation to say no, not now. Again, this is a big theme of this presentation, is be able to say no. Maybe not no forever, but not right now. It's not the best use of my time. Encouraging, empowering you to do that and your team to do that. And that's so that we can finish the important work faster, higher quality, and with healthier ways of working. So we're not getting burned out. We're not working extra hours. We're not stealing from sleep, from our family, from our relationships. Yes, let's do the context switching exercises. So this will take about 2 minutes. I will start a timer. So think of basically get a pen and paper, or you can do this in Notepad or Word on your computer. And so please go along with me. Let's jump into this. And I will do it as well. So think of 6 names, and then I'm going to start a timer, and you can write them down. So just write them one at a time. So conveniently, I got 6 children: Nina, Wim, Ellen, Joanna, Marita, Joran. So that's what I'm going with. We can take 6 names, and just call it the time when you're done. And so just time it, writing down 6 names. So you can do it on a piece of paper or on Notepad or something on the computer. And go. And just put in the chat when you're done. And I'm done at 10 seconds. Okay, and then you can do this again. And this time we're going to do it the first letter of each name all the way down. So N, W, E, J, M, J, and then the next letter I, L, etc. And we'll time that one. And go. And I'm done at 31 seconds. So it took me 3 times as long. It just shows the context switching and jumping around, we lose so much, a lot more than we think. And happens all over the place. Yeah, so we want to design our work and our flow so we can focus on the task and have a flow, the way our brains are designed to work, and with our styles. So big part of this is setting a limit on the number of work in progress. And so there's objections to that, of saying, again, the ideal is maybe 2 per person, so we have some slack. And what is objections to that, setting a limit on how many tickets we can have open that are started, is people are team players. Not wanting to I don't want to let the team down. And so that's a big one. And then shiny new objects suck us in. And we're wanting to work the extra hours, but it's still increasing our WIP. And then we start something because we think it's simple and it's just going to be an hour, but we don't realize how big and complex it is. We need other people, we need approvals, we're waiting on something, we're waiting for input, got to go research and learn something, and it's what was an hour is really 4 hours over multiple days. People pleasers, we want to keep people happy. It's hard to just fear of rejection and saying no. We don't want to let people down. And big one here is can't say no to the boss or leadership. Somebody higher in authority is coming to us, and yeah, just go and do it, even though we've got all these other important things that are really important for clients in the business. And then not feeling like I have the permission to say no. I'm not allowed to say no. Like I have to take what's given to me. That's my job. There's a lot of subconscious energies here that suck us in. But remember, as a leader, as a boss, people won't tell you no. They'll just context switch and work on your thing. And there's this huge impact on the work. So you got to be very aware of that and ask people what's on your load, and before we insert something at the top. All right, so setting a WIP limit. What should it be? Well, first strategy is it should just be lower than what you got. For everyone here, it should be lower. Just keep lowering it. Next thing is 2 to 3 per team member. We want to allow some slack there. And just look at, in another way, just look at how much is getting done in a week. And then you can work backwards from that. And we talk about done because sometimes we call it done or completed, but it's waiting on something else yet before actually the customer can use it. Just look at finally, like the customer actually accepted and happy with it. So on this board here, we're seeing some numbers at the top: pending 6, limit of 6, analysis is a max of 3, development has a max WIP of 5, 3, and test has 3. So that means development can't throw more tickets to test until some of these are completed. So they've actually, if they're working too fast, they may need to slow down or go help the test team with the testing. So we're focusing on the work rather than keeping people busy. So yeah, another way to look at it is if you didn't start anything new, how long would it take you to close every single ticket? If you have 50 tickets on your board, how long will it take to get them all done? And if we don't say no to this work, our body will say no. We get sick, we get disease, we get anxiety, fatigue, or just tired all the time, burnout, we're needing caffeine. Our body already knows how we're doing at the work if we're overloaded. Second time thief is conflicting priorities. So big thing here is, we're not sure on what to do next. There's different types of work. You got like service versus project, proactive, reactive. We're in different teams. We have different reporting lines within our organization. So we want to visualize these as much as we can. And often this happens because with a project method, we're shuffling people between projects. So they've got some knowledge. Whoever implemented, let's say, that new firewall or that Azure server or SharePoint project, they got some knowledge. The project is done. Now the operations team is coming to them with questions because the knowledge transfer wasn't there. It's not documented. And so there's a huge overhead with ramping up and ramping down projects that's often underestimated. Third time thief is unknown dependencies. So that's if you're needing another meeting to discuss something, that's a good red flag that this one's popping up. We're waiting on an expert, a senior engineer, the vendor, a subcontractor. We're waiting on the client, a maintenance window. It could be a specialized service team that they're sharing. There's a team sharing with multiple parts of the company, and we're waiting on that shared team. And because they're busy helping somebody else. A high coordination cost, that's a big one, and that's where you'll start to see a coordinator be added or more managers. So that's a sign that there's a lot of dependencies going on. And this happens because with complex IT, that drives specialization, and specialization increases dependencies. We're waiting on that specialist. Every dependency doubles our chance of being delayed or late. So one tool to help visualize this is the dependency matrix. So Dominica has that in the book, and in the video training is if you've got 10 people on your team or however many people's map out who's talking to who or who's waiting on who. and then prioritize those, like how much of those are really a bottleneck and causing the work to wait. And in our visuals, we really want to visualize the wait versus work states. When is our work waiting? And we want to really shorten up that wait time. So this is not about doing work faster. It's not about working harder, more hours, necessarily being more efficient, but it's eliminating the waste. And wait is a waste. So you can see this with the top graphic is there's an idea, it gets triaged, it's waiting on funding, it gets planned, it's waiting on approval, etc. There's a lot of wait states here. We're seeing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 wait states here. And you can see on this bottom graphic, it's the red is wait. So much of our work is a little bit of work, then it's waiting for somebody, for some part, an idea, an approval, whatever it might be. So we want to get rid of those waits and just keep the work flowing right from start to finish. Fourth time thief is unplanned work. So that's outages, break fix. Those are obviously the obvious ones. Alerts and notifications that are interrupting us. We don't plan for that to happen, to get notified when that server disk space is down to 10%, but yet it's an alert that comes in. There's real emergency, something's down, plant really needs help. There's questionable ones that people are jumping up and down, but really it could have waited a day or a week. There's quick questions, you proverbial got a minute, which ends up being half an hour, we're distracted, and it takes us 20 minutes to get back to what we're doing, so really we lost an hour. Looking for stuff we couldn't find. So we plan to spend an hour on whatever project task today, and we end up having to look all over the place for stuff in their documentation or parts in the room or whatever it might be. Rework from bad processes, just quality issues, bugs, all of that. Organization changes, special requests from a CEO or a VP somewhere that they're coming, they're knocking on a door, they're Teams messaging us, hey, can you help with us? This, and it's superseding your whole plan for today. And stuff not in your list, not in your ticket list, it's invisible work. So I love this graphic from the book actually the training, is rarely do calendars take unplanned work into consideration. That's the one. And then related to is that unplanned work doesn't usually show up in the workflow. That's the whole point. It wasn't planned. So if you look at our calendar, it's beautifully designed with a winning week format, but its unplanned stuff is taking up all the margin, all the buffers, and more. So that's why we're feeling stressed and overwhelmed. Another example of unplanned work is the communication issues. Like a customer says, I need this, got a new person starting this afternoon. And now we're jumping through hoops to get that done. And actually they knew like a week ago, 3 weeks ago, that they were hiring. They could have told us they were hiring and planned to hire and start that person. Something example of something that's not unplanned would be an annual security compliance audit. That can be planned for. It doesn't need to be last minute by any means. So if you've got some examples of this that happened for you in the last week or yesterday, today, please put them in the chat. We'd love to hear. Right, so problem with the unplanned work, again, it's context switching, it's delaying the planned work. It's hard to estimate and forecast what we're doing. There's frustration, there's overload, it's increasing our WIP. Because now we've got the unplanned work is adding to the WIP, plus the original work is still there. It's generating conflicting priorities. So what do? We'll track it. Compare the planned versus unplanned on a monthly basis. You could experiment with a sticky note, just putting them on the board. Every time you get interrupted, put it on a sticky note, put it on the board. At the end of the week, you can show, hey, here, I got interrupted 17 times with all this unplanned stuff. So you can make it visible, have a conversation about it. And of course, this unplanned work will always be with us. It's like the poor, they're going to be there. We don't know what's in the future, but we can work to decrease these with communication, visualizing it, planning for it, and measuring it. Right. The fifth one, final one, is the neglected work. So that's work that's been started, but it's not done. Not done. The customer's not using it. They don't have the benefit of it yet. It started, perhaps it's been postponed, it's been procrastinated. It's important, but not urgent. So we're just not getting to it every day. Could be forgotten, could be stale. Technical debt falls into this. So it's work to retain clients, like making sure the security is good, the disaster recovery, compliance, maintaining old fragile systems, decommissioning them, just making sure they're going to be stable for a long time to come. And we want to shine a light on these. So you could do that on a Kanban board with they're falling to the bottom, it's going to show up, or you can put a special color. With software, you can have it just highlight if it hasn't been touched in so many hours or days. There's an aging WIP reports you could use. You can discuss these in huddles or weekly meetings. And we got to block off time to actually work on these business improvements, security projects, this technical debt so it gets done. Don't let the cobbler's children go without shoes. And I like in my MSP, we have the expression of treat yourself like a client. And again, it's like the bananas. The longer they sit on the counter, they're going to get smelly, they're going to go bad, and they just take up space. So we don't want that. So what do we do with all these time thieves? We'll expose them, expose the crimes, and then they'll disappear. So again, sparking the conversation in our team so we can deal with it. So I've shown some visuals. Here's some more of what I'm going to go through. And so you could do, so this is a sketch from the book that I've put in. And so color-coded sticky notes is the idea there. With your PSA and TopLeft, you can do this with work types, boards or queues, custom fields. You can use color highlighting as well to show the different types of projects versus service, for example. You want to expose that work in progress. And so with TopLeft, you could zoom out and see that to get that bigger picture without reading all the little details on each card. And so in this sketch here, you can see there's a swim lane for the business request, and that WIP is getting higher. They're saying max 5, and they've got, well, 8. So that's showing up. So this is many companies, hundreds, thousands of companies using physical Kanbans. I've been at some MSPs that are using a physical Kanban. And so I went to one company in Bellingham, Washington State, across the border from here, and they had, I don't know, I think it was like 4 or 5 of these whiteboards like this with sticky notes just in a column and visualizing their work that way. So it doesn't require software, it doesn't require integration necessarily to do. Again, exposing the unplanned work. You could do this with a swim lane for the unplanned work. You could do that with a custom field, a work type. You could do the queue or the queue and auto task or service board and ConnectWise to show that as well, like your help desk versus projects. A few ways of doing that. This is of the visualizing work is for all work. So not just technical stuff in our MSP world, but also could be marketing, could be sales, procurement. So here's an example for a purchase order board. And so we got the different stages, assigned, the intact queue, waiting on approval, etc. Swim lane for expedite, anything being rushed, prioritized, about the workflow and everything else. And then without a purchase order, with a purchase order. So you can see exactly where it's at. WIP report, seeing by month, how is our work in progress and what's our trend? Are we actually getting that down with perhaps the automation, documentation, training, our practices, our habits? Are we actually getting that down? And then you can use other graphs to see is the work actually speeding up, which must go together. So with TopLeft, we do have an integration with Nave that will give you these sorts of charts of aging and outliers, cycle times, different things. And we're adding reports to TopLeft over the coming months. So queuing theory comes into this. So a graph from the book that I grabbed, basically showing as your queue size increases, your latency will go up. So it's as you get more cars on the highway, traffic slows down. If you've got a ADSL modem, a dial-up modem, if you remember those days, if you're busy uploading a lot of data, your latency will go up. So your voice over IP calls will get delayed and really be useless in that example. Everything grinds to a halt. So if you got an engineer or a particular person, it could be anybody in the company running at this 90 to 100% capacity, their turnaround time is going to be really high. It's going to be days or weeks or months. So if we can get that down, we have a much quicker turnaround. And you actually see that on a highway is in some areas is they give you a stoplight, a stop green, or stop go light. To control the traffic coming on the highway on the on-ramp. And so they're going to space out those cars every 2-3 seconds so that they merge in nicely, not impacting the flow on the highway. So sometimes we need to do that with our work, is to say no to new work, at least slow it down and space it out so that we can keep on top of the work we have. A big theme here is moving the work, not the people. I've just seen that so many MSPs I've talked to, and I've talked to hundreds, is a big focus in this industry on utilization, keeping our people busy all day and not on the work. And so this leads to, hey, your billable, your hours are high and people are on task, but the work is not getting done nearly as quick as it could be. And they're, again, you're getting the overhead of multitasking, context switching, making everything taking longer. So if they can work the priorities, do one thing at a time, get it done and on to the next, they're going to have a lot more time to do the work. So you can run the flow efficiency formula of how much is our work moving versus waiting, and that's our flow efficiency. So with TopLeft, you have here's an example of a very simple technician view, taking the work out of ConnectWise and visualizing it on the board. So this is a very simple view that a technician would see. They don't need to care about what everyone else is doing, and they could have that as well. But okay, what should I be doing today? What's up next? What needs to follow up? So if this person's boss comes with a request, now they have a way to say, well, this is what I got going on. What do you want me to, where does this fit on my board? And what should wait? And does your boss really want to say, no, not now to this customer project? Perhaps they do. But at least we have a tool to have these good discussions around priorities, what's a dependency, break those conflict loops. Okay, and swim lane by priority, just a couple of more examples here. Is, yeah, swim lane, priority 1, priority 2. A lot of ways, a lot of swim lane options. Can do a lot more. So if you're interested in getting Kanban boards going to highlight these time thieves in your business, let us know. We do free onboarding. If you book a demo in the next 2 weeks and sign up in the next 2 weeks, we'll give you free onboarding, which is a $650 value. And again, we spend multiple meetings to help get you set up the boards, dial in the visuals, get your team trained, and going through a whole onboarding checklist. So you get assigned a customer success manager, and we'll get you up and going in 30 days. We have a guarantee there. And then if you're an existing client on the webinar today, we do free re-onboarding for existing clients. We've got many clients in this process, and I'd love to invite you to that as well. So you use the links here, topleft.team/demo if you're not on TopLeft yet, or /book CSM, and book that calls and get started. So that was the end of this presentation. I'll handle any questions now. You can put them in the chat or the Q&A. And then, yeah, so while we're waiting for those questions to come in, is what's the one thing you're going to take action on this week? We're at Monday. Is what are you going to do this week when it comes to exposing these time thefts in your business? Oh, you're welcome, Martin. Good. What are you going to do this week from this? What was most useful from this content? What's maybe inspired you to have a conversation with somebody? Any more questions from anyone? I guess I explained everything really well. Yep. Again, highly recommend the book. If you book the call, either the demo or the call with CSM, we'll send you a copy of the book as well, I should mention. Happy to hang out here a little bit if there's more questions, or if you want to see a demo of any of these, I'm happy to bring up the product and show that. All right. Well, it was good to have everyone here today. Enjoy the rest of your day and your week, and just again focus on completing tickets rather than starting. So just drive that message home with your team.